Captain Hyunwoo Park stood on the bridge of the UES Determination, staring at the readings on his main screen. His ship was 3 days out from Earth's frontier colonies, exploring a region that few had mapped before. "Captain," called So Young Jang from the communications station. "I'm picking up a weak distress signal." Very faint, Hyunwoo walked over to look at her display. The signal was barely there, like a whisper in the cosmic noise. "How far out?" he asked. 2 hours at full speed. "But sir," So Young paused, "the signal isn't from any human ship. The technology is completely different." Minho Choi looked up from the tactical station. "Could be a trap, Captain. Pirates sometimes use fake distress calls," Hyunwoo nodded. Minho was right to be careful. Space could be dangerous, especially this far from home. But something about the signal bothered him. It was so weak, so desperate. "What do you think, Da-eun?" he asked his chief engineer. Da-eun Kim was studying her own readings. "Life support failure," she said simply. "Whatever's out there is dying." The bridge fell quiet. Everyone knew the rules. First contact with unknown species was supposed to go through proper diplomatic channels. There were procedures to follow, forms to fill out, but those procedures took time, and time was something the signal sender did not have. "Set course for the signal," Hyunwoo ordered. "Full speed, sir," Minho said quietly. "Regulations state that—" "I know what the regulations say," Hyunwoo cut him off. "But I also know what's right. Someone out there needs help. We'll figure out the paperwork later." The Determination changed course, its engines pushing hard through space. In the medical bay, Dr. Taemin Lee began preparing for an unknown patient. He had no idea what kind of creature they might find, but he would do his best to save it. 2 hours later, they found the escape pod. It was small and badly damaged, spinning slowly against the stars. Scorch marks covered its hull. Several systems had failed completely. "Life signs are very weak," reported Jin Soo Nam from the science station. "Whatever's inside won't last much longer." "Can we bring it aboard?" Hyunwoo asked. Taeyeon was already running calculations. "The docking bay can fit it, but the pod systems are failing. If we're not careful, we could lose life support completely." "Then we better be careful," Hyunwoo said. "Do it." The next hour was the longest of Kira's life. She felt the gentle bump as the human ship's tractor beam caught her pod. Strange voices spoke in a language she had never heard before. The translation computer in her pod tried to make sense of the words, but could only manage fragments. "Holding steady. Life support critical. Get her inside now." Her? How did they know she was female? How did they know anything about her species? The pod shook as it was pulled into the larger ship. Kira heard the hiss of an airlock sealing, then footsteps. Heavy boots on metal floors. The pod's hatch opened with a grinding sound. Kira saw her first human. He was tall and narrow, with pale skin and dark hair. His eyes were small and round, not like her own large compound eyes. He wore a gray uniform with strange markings on it, but what struck her most was his expression. He looked concerned. "Worried about her?" "Easy there," the human said softly. The translation was working better now that they were close. "You're safe now. We're going to take care of you." More humans appeared. A female with kind eyes and gentle hands carefully lifted Kira from the pod. Another human, older and wearing a white coat, scanned her with strange devices. "Get her to medical," the white-coated one said. "Her breathing is very shallow. Whatever she breathes, she's not getting enough of it." They carried Kira through corridors filled with bright lights and clean air. Everything was so different from her pod, so full of life and activity. In the medical bay, Dr. Taemin Lee worked frantically to save his patient. He had never seen anything like Kira before. Forearms, compound eyes, and skin that glowed with a weak blue light. But the basics were the same. She needed oxygen, water, and warmth. "Her body temperature is dropping," he called to his assistants. "Get more blankets, and find out what kind of atmosphere she needs." Taeyeon Kim had followed them to medical. She was studying readings from Kira's pod. "The air mixture is close to ours, but with more nitrogen," she reported. "I can adjust the room's atmosphere." As the humans worked around her, Kira felt something she had not experienced in months. Hope. These strange beings were trying to save her. They did not even know her species, but they cared about her life. Hours passed. Slowly, Kira's condition improved. The room's air was adjusted to match her needs. Warm blankets replaced the cold of space. Nutrient fluid was carefully fed into her system. When she finally woke up, Captain Hyunwoo was sitting beside her bed. "Hello," he said simply. "I'm Hyun-woo. What's your name?" The translation system had been working while she slept. Now she could understand him clearly. "Kira," she whispered. Her voice was still weak but getting stronger. "My name is Kira Velthara." "Well, Kira Velthara," Hyun-woo said with a small smile. "Welcome aboard the Determination. You're safe now. Safe." Kira had not felt safe in so long, but looking at this human's honest face, she began to believe it might be true. "How did you find me?" she asked. "Your distress signal. We picked it up and came as fast as we could." Kira was confused. "But your ship, your people, I do not know your species. Are you new to this region of space?" Hyun-woo nodded. "We call ourselves humans. We come from a world called Earth. We're explorers, mostly. Scientists and engineers. We like to see what's out there." "Like my people," Kira said softly. Then her bioluminescence dimmed as she remembered. "But my people are all dead now. What happened?" Hyun-woo asked gently, so Kira told him. About the research mission. About finding the ancient station and its secrets. About the Kronek attack that killed everyone except her. As she spoke, Hyun-woo's expression changed. The kindness remained, but something else appeared in his eyes. Something hard and cold anger. "They attacked a research ship?" he said quietly. "Scientists who meant no harm?" "The Kronek take what they want," Kira explained. "They are strong. We are weak. That is how things are in this galaxy." But Hyun-woo was shaking his head. "That's not how things should be." Kira did not understand. "Should be? What does that matter? The strong rule? The weak hide or die? This is the natural order." "Not where we come from," Hyun-woo said firmly. "Where we come from, bullies get stopped." The idea was so foreign to Kira that she could barely process it. A species that fought back against the strong? That protected the weak? It seemed impossible. But as she looked around at the humans who had saved her life, she began to wonder. Maybe the galaxy was about to change. Dr. Kira Velthara floated in the darkness of space, watching the stars through the cracked glass of her escape pod. 3 months had passed since the attack. 3 long months of drifting alone in the cold emptiness between worlds. Her pod spun slowly, making the stars dance in circles above her head. The movement used to make her sick, but now she barely noticed it. She had bigger problems to worry about. The life support system beeped softly in the corner. Red lights flashed on the control panel. She did not need to read the display to know what it meant. The air would run out soon. Maybe 6 hours. Maybe less. Kira's skin had once glowed with a soft blue light. All Velthani could do this. It was how her people showed their emotions and health. But now her glow was weak and flickering, like a candle about to go out. She closed her 4 eyes and remembered home. Velthar Prime was a beautiful world covered in crystal forests that sang in the wind. Her people lived in harmony there. They studied the stars and the ancient ruins left by older civilizations. They never fought wars. They never hurt anyone. That was why the attack had been such a shock. Kira's research team had been exploring an old space station near the edge of known space. They were scientists, not soldiers. Their ship, the Silent Current, carried no weapons. Just tools for studying and learning. The Kronek warships had appeared without warning. Big, ugly vessels that looked like they were built for destroying things. The Kronek were reptile-like creatures who took what they wanted by force. Everyone in the galaxy feared them. "Please," Captain Velnasa had said over the radio. "We are peaceful researchers. We mean no harm." The Kronek commander had laughed. A cold, cruel sound. "Your research ends here, Bug. Your whole species disgusts us." The attack had lasted only minutes. The Silent Current's shields failed quickly. Explosions tore through the ship's hull. Kira remembered running through burning corridors as her friends and colleagues died around her. She had reached an escape pod just as the ship broke apart. Through the pod's window, she watched the Silent Current explode in a ball of fire. 23 good people died that day. Scientists, explorers, dreamers. All gone. Now she was the only one left. Kira opened her eyes and looked at the small recording device in her hands. She had been making final messages for her family back home. Her clutch siblings would want to know what happened. They would want to understand why she never came back. "Message 17, she said quietly. Her voice was weak now. "For my sister Nira and my brothers Kellen and Voss." She paused and gathered her strength. "I want you to know that I am not afraid anymore. Death comes to all living things. I have seen beautiful things in space. I have learned much about the galaxy, Some species are cruel like the Kronek, but I still believe there is goodness out there, somewhere. The pod shuddered. More systems were failing. The temperature was dropping. Soon she would fall asleep and never wake up. Tell the council what happened here. The Kronek destroyed us because we found something important. Ancient technology in that space station. They did not want us to study it. They were afraid of what we might learn. Kira thought about the discovery. Hidden deep in the old station, they had found computer files, evidence of a vast network of defensive systems built by a long-dead civilization. Weapons and shields that could protect peaceful species from attackers. The Kronek had known about it. That was why they came. They wanted to keep the secret buried. Maybe someday another species will find what we found, Kira continued. Maybe they will be braver than us. Maybe they will fight back. She laughed softly at that thought. Her people had never fought anyone. They barely understood the concept of violence. When threatened, they hid. When attacked, they ran. It was their nature. The life support beeped again. More red lights came on. The air was getting thin. Kira set down the recording device and looked out at the stars. They were beautiful even at the end, distant suns burning in the darkness. Each one might have planets. Each planet might have life. So much to explore, so much to learn. She would never see any of it. Her bioluminescence flickered weaker. Soon it would go out completely. When that happened, she would be gone too. "I am sorry, Mother," she whispered. "I am sorry I will not come home." The pod continued to spin. The stars continued their ancient dance. In the vast emptiness of space, one small escape pod drifted alone with its dying passenger. Kira closed her eyes again. Maybe she would dream of home. Maybe she would see her family one last time before the darkness took her. But then something changed. A new light appeared on the control panel. Not red this time. Green. The long-range sensors had detected something. Kira opened her eyes and looked at the display. A ship was approaching, but the signature was strange. It did not match any species in the galactic database. She tried to sit up, but she was too weak. Her hands shook as she reached for the communication controls. Could it be rescue? After 3 months of drifting alone, had someone finally found her? Or was it another Kronek ship, coming to finish what they started? The ship signature grew stronger. Whatever it was big and moving fast, coming straight toward her pod. Kira's bioluminescence flickered brighter for a moment. Despite everything, hope stirred in her hearts. Her people had always believed that the galaxy was full of reasonable beings, creatures who could be talked to and reasoned with. Maybe, just maybe, she was about to meet some. 2 days later, Kira felt strong enough to walk around the human ship. Dr. Tae-Min Lee had done amazing work. Her bioluminescence was bright blue again, and her 4 hearts beat steadily. She found Captain Hyunwoo on the bridge staring at a star map. "We're going back," he told her without looking up. "Back to where your ship was attacked." Kira's glow flickered with fear. "Why? There is nothing left. The Kronek destroyed everything." "Maybe," Hyunwoo said, "but maybe they missed something. You said your people found important information, ancient technology. We need to know what the Kronek were so afraid of." "It is too dangerous," Kira protested. "They might still be there." Minho Choi looked up from his station. "Let them come. We're ready for them." Kira did not understand the confidence in his voice. The Kronek had warships, big powerful vessels with heavy weapons. How could one human ship stand against them? But she was about to learn. The journey took 3 days. When they arrived at the coordinates where the silent current had died, Kira felt her heart skip. Debris floated in space like a graveyard. Pieces of her ship. Pieces of her friends. "I'm sorry," Hyunwoo said softly, seeing her distress. "This must be hard for you." Jin Sunam was scanning the wreckage. "Captain, I'm reading something unusual." "There are intact sections in the main debris field." "How intact?" asked Daeun Kim. "Computer cores, data storage, maybe even personal effects." Kira's bioluminescence flared with hope. "The research data. If any of it survived, we'll find out," Hyunwoo promised. "Daeun, prep a shuttle. Jinsu, you're with her. Bring back everything you can salvage." "Sir," Minho called from tactical. "I'm reading 3 ships approaching." Kronek signatures. The bridge fell silent. Kira felt ice form in her stomachs. The Kronek had returned. "Yellow alert," Hyunwoo ordered calmly. "All hands to stations." The main screen showed 3 large Kronek warships approaching fast. They were ugly vessels covered in spikes and weapons, built for intimidation as much as destruction. A harsh voice filled the bridge as the Kronek opened communications. Unknown vessel, you are in Kronek space. Leave immediately or be destroyed. Hyunwoo stepped forward. This is Captain Park of the UES Determination. We're conducting a rescue operation in neutral space. There are no rescues here, the Kronek commander snarled. Only death. You have 1 minute to leave before we blast you into atoms. Kira expected the humans to run. Any sane species would flee from 3 Kronek warships, but Hyunwoo just smiled. Well, he said to his crew, I guess they want to do this the hard way. Red alert. Battle stations. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos. Lights dimmed to red. Stations came online. Humans moved with quick, practiced efficiency. Shields up, reported Ye Jin-oh from the engineering station. All weapons ready. Sir, Minho said, studying his displays. They outgun us 3-1. Standard tactics won't work here. Then we don't use standard tactics, Hyunwoo replied. Remember what we learned at the academy. When facing superior numbers, make them fight on your terms, not theirs. Kira watched in amazement as the humans prepared for battle. They showed no fear, no panic. Just quiet determination. The Kronek ships opened fire. Bright red beams lanced through space toward the Determination. But the human ship was already moving, dancing between the energy blasts with impossible grace. Their ships are big and powerful, Dayun called from engineering. But they're slow. We can outmaneuver them. Target their weapon arrays, Hyunwoo ordered. Hit and run. Don't let them get a clean shot. The Determination's weapons fired. Blue beams struck the lead Kronek ship, causing explosions along its hull. But the big ship kept coming. Minimal damage, Minho reported. Their armor is too thick. Then we get creative, Hyunwoo said. He turned to Jinsu. Those debris fields from the Velthani ship. How dense are they? Very, Jinsu replied. Lots of metal fragments. Some pieces are quite large. Perfect. Plot a course through the thickest part of the field. Maximum speed. Sir, Yejin said nervously. At that speed, if we hit something, then we don't hit anything, Hyunwoo said simply. Trust the ship. Trust each other. The Determination dove into the debris field. Metal fragments bounced off the shields. Larger pieces flashed past the viewports. Behind them, the 3 Kronek ships followed. But the Kronek vessels were not built for precision flying. They were designed to overwhelm enemies with brute force. In the narrow confines of the debris field, their size worked against them. The first Kronek ship clipped a large piece of wreckage. Its shields flared and failed. A second impact tore through the hull and the ship began to list. 1 down, Minho reported. The second Kronek ship tried to back out of the field, but the Determination was waiting. As the enemy vessel emerged, human weapons struck its engines. The ship went dead in space. That left 1 Kronek warship, the biggest and most dangerous. This is War Leader Korthak, came the snarling voice over the communicator. You fight like cowards hiding in debris. Face us in open space. Why? Hyunwoo asked calmly. So you can use your superior firepower. I don't think so. The human captain was thinking fast. The remaining Kronek ship was too smart to follow them into the debris field. But it was also blocking their escape route. Dayun, he called. How much power can you give me for 1 massive engine burn? Everything we've got, Captain. But it'll drain our systems completely. Do it. All power to engines on my mark. The Determination shot out of the debris field like a missile. The Kronek ship fired everything it had, but the human vessel was moving too fast. Energy beams passed harmlessly behind them. Now, Hyunwoo shouted. The Determination slammed into the Kronek ship at incredible speed. But instead of a direct collision, the human ship scraped along the enemy's hull, shields screaming as they absorbed the impact. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. For a moment, Kira thought both ships would be destroyed. Then they were clear. The Kronek warship spun helplessly, its weapons destroyed, its engines dead. Damage report, Hyunwoo called. Shields down to 15%, Yejin reported. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. But we're alive. The bridge crew looked around at each other. Then someone started laughing. Soon they were all laughing, the wild laughter of people who had just survived the impossible. Kira stared at them in wonder. Her people would have mourned such a battle even in victory. But these humans celebrated it. They had faced impossible odds and won through cleverness and courage. Captain, Jinsu called. I'm reading data cores in the wreckage. Intact Velthani computer systems. Get them, Hyunwoo ordered. Everything you can recover. As the shuttle teams worked to salvage what remained of Kira's people's research, She realized something had changed inside her. For the first time in her life, she had seen someone fight back against the strong, someone who refused to accept that might made right. The ancient data they recovered would prove to be the key to everything. But even more important was what Kira had learned about these strange beings called humans. They were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the most advanced. But they had something her people had lost long ago. They had hope. And they were willing to fight for it. 2 weeks later, Kira stood on the observation deck of Station Aurora staring out at the bustling human spaceport. Ships of all sizes came and went constantly. Cargo vessels, exploration ships, even some warships returning from patrol. She had never seen anything like it. Her people's space stations were quiet places of study and contemplation. This human station buzzed with activity and purpose. "Overwhelming, isn't it?" said a gentle voice behind her. Kira turned to see Subin Yu, the human xenocultural specialist who had been assigned as her guide. Subin was small and kind, with laughing eyes and infinite patience for Kira's endless questions about human society. "Your people never rest?" Kira observed. "Always working, always moving. How do you find peace?" Subin smiled. "We find peace and purpose, in knowing that our work makes life better for others." They walked together through the station's corridors. Kira was amazed by what she saw. Humans of different colors and sizes worked side by side. There were also other aliens, species that had made contact with humanity and chosen to cooperate with them. "How many species have joined you?" Kira asked. "Joined is the wrong word," Subin explained. "We don't ask anyone to join us. We offer friendship, partnership. Some say yes, some say no. Everyone chooses for themselves." This concept was foreign to Kira. In her experience, the strong commanded and the weak obeyed. But humans seemed to believe in something called choice. That evening, Subin invited Kira to dinner with her family. Her husband, Jae Sung, was an engineer who designed better life support systems. Their 2 children, Minseo and Hansol, were curious about their alien guest. "Do you glow all the time?" asked 8-year-old Minseo. "Only when I'm healthy and happy," Kira replied, letting her bioluminescence brighten for the children's delight. "Why are your eyes so big?" wondered 6-year-old Hansol. "To see better in the dark," Kira explained patiently. The children's innocent questions made Kira think about her own species. Velthani children were taught to be quiet and careful, to hide from danger and avoid drawing attention. These human children were taught to be curious and brave. After dinner, Admiral Yoonji Song requested a meeting. Kira found herself in a conference room with the station's senior staff. The Admiral was an older woman with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "We've analyzed the data you recovered," Admiral Song began. "Your people made an incredible discovery." On the main screen, a star map appeared. Dozens of systems were highlighted in blue. "Ancient defensive installations," explained Director Dong Hyun Lim from Intelligence, "built by a civilization that died out millions of years ago. The technology is far beyond anything we've seen." Diplomatic attaché Haiwan Kang leaned forward. "According to your research, these installations form a network. When activated, they can create protective barriers around entire star systems." Kira's bioluminescence flickered with excitement. "My people believed the ancients built them to protect peaceful species from predators. But we could never figure out how to turn them on." "We think we can," Admiral Song said quietly. "Our engineers have been studying your data. It's possible, but it would take a massive coordinated effort." "Why would you do this?" Kira asked. "These installations are far from human space. You would gain nothing." The humans exchanged glances. Then Admiral Song spoke. "Dr. Velthera, how many species in this galaxy live in fear? How many hide in their home systems because they're afraid of predators like the Kronek?" Kira thought about it. Most of the civilizations she knew were like her own people. Peaceful, advanced in science and art, but defenseless against military species. "Hundreds," she admitted. "Maybe thousands. And they all deserve to be free," Admiral Song said firmly. "Free to explore, to trade, to make friends with other species. The Kronek and races like them have turned the galaxy into a prison. We want to change that, but why?" Kira pressed. "What do you gain?" Subin answered. "A better universe for our children. A galaxy where peaceful species don't have to hide." That night, Kira lay in her guest quarters thinking about everything she had learned. The humans were offering something incredible, a chance to change the fundamental balance of power in the galaxy. But it would require her to make a choice. She could contact her people and tell them about the humans and their plan. But that would mean revealing the location of Velthar Prime to potential enemies. If the humans were wrong, if their plan failed, the Kronek might hunt down her species to extinction, or she could stay quiet. Let her people remain hidden and safe, but then nothing would change. The galaxy would remain a place where the strong ruled and the weak suffered. The next morning, Kira made her decision. She found Ji-hoon Bae, the station's communications officer, and asked for his help. "I need to send a message to my people," she said. "A secure transmission that cannot be traced or intercepted." Ji-hoon nodded. "I can set that up." "What do you want to tell them?" Kira thought carefully about her words. The message would have to be perfect. It would have to convince the Velthani Council to take the biggest risk in their species' history. "Tell them that I am alive," she began. "Tell them that I have found something wonderful. People who believe the galaxy can be better than what it is." She paused, gathering her courage. "Tell them that help is coming. Tell them to be ready." The message went out that night, encoded in a way that only Velthani computers could understand. It would take weeks to reach her homeworld, and weeks more for a reply. But Kira was no longer the frightened, helpless being who had floated in a dying escape pod. Living among humans had changed her. She had learned their concepts of hope and courage. She had seen what was possible when good people refused to accept evil. 3 days later, long-range sensors detected something alarming. A massive fleet of Kronek warships was moving through space, not just toward human territory, but toward the hidden worlds of dozens of peaceful species. War leader Korthak, the survivor of the battle at the debris field, had reported back to his superiors. The Kronek High Command had decided that these upstart humans were too dangerous to ignore. They were planning a purge, a systematic destruction of every species that might support or shelter humanity. In the strategy room, Admiral Song gathered her staff. "How long do we have?" she asked. 6 weeks, Director Lim reported. "Maybe 8 if they stop to refuel." "Not enough time to fully activate the network," Admiral Song said grimly. "We'll have to fight them with what we have." "Admiral," Kira said quietly, "my people are not fighters. Most of the peaceful species have no weapons, no defenses. They will be slaughtered." "Not if we can help it," Admiral Song replied. "We may not be able to activate the full network in time, but we can activate parts of it. Enough to protect some worlds, enough to give hope to others." She turned to address the room. "Send word to all our ships, all our allies. Everything we have is going into this fight. We're going to show the galaxy that bullies can be stopped." Kira felt her bioluminescence brighten with an emotion she had never experienced before. Not hope this time, not fear, determination. The humans had taught her that sometimes the right thing to do was also the hardest thing to do. They were about to risk everything for species they barely knew, simply because it was right, and for the first time in her life, Kira was ready to fight alongside them. The ancient installation hung in space like a sleeping giant. It was larger than any ship Kira had ever seen, built from materials that seemed to drink in starlight. For millions of years it had waited in the darkness between stars. Now finally someone had come to wake it up. Engineering teams report ready, called Da-eun Kim over the communication system. She was aboard the lead human vessel, coordinating the activation sequence from her mobile command center. Kira floated in her own small ship nearby. It was a Velthani design but built with human technology, fast, agile, and equipped with the most advanced computers both species could create together. "Velthani team standing by," she reported. Her voice was steady, but her bioluminescence flickered with nervous energy. Around them, a mixed fleet of human and alien ships held defensive positions. Word had spread quickly through the hidden worlds. Species that had lived in fear for generations had emerged from their hiding places. Not all of them could fight, but they could help in other ways. The Theron provided their expertise in ancient languages. The melodic consensus offered their skills in harmonic frequency analysis. Even some Kronek, rebels who refused to follow their empire's brutal ways, had joined the coalition. "Status. Report," came Admiral Song's voice from the command. "Ship. Installation is responding," reported Woojin Seo, the human engineer leading the activation team. "Power levels are rising. Ancient systems are coming online." But they were running out of time. Long-range sensors showed the Kronek fleet approaching fast. Hundreds of warships led by the massive flagship of High War leader Thekron himself. Enemy fleet will be in weapons range in 6 hours, announced Tactical Officer Eugene Park. 6 hours. They needed at least 10 to complete the full activation sequence. We'll have to buy time, Admiral Song said grimly. All combat vessels prepare for engagement. Kira looked at the human fleet. They were outnumbered 10-1. Even with their alien allies, they faced impossible odds. But she had learned something about humans during her time with them. The worse the odds, the more determined they became. All ship, came Captain Hyunwoo's voice over the fleet channel. Remember why we're here. Not for glory. Not for conquest. We're here so that peaceful species can live without fear. We're here so that children can explore the stars without hiding in the dark. The human fleet moved to intercept the Kronek Armada. Kira watched from her position near the ancient installation as the two forces met in the black of space. The battle was unlike anything she had ever imagined. The Kronek came in massive formations, relying on their superior firepower and numbers. But the humans fought like dancers, their ships weaving through the enemy fleet in patterns that seemed impossible. Concentrate fire on their command ships, ordered Min Ho Choi, now commanding a human destroyer. Cut off their coordination. Human weapons reached out like blue lightning, striking with surgical precision. Kronek vessels exploded in brilliant fireballs, but more kept coming. Installation at 60% power, Wu Jin reported. Ancient defensive systems are initializing. Around the galaxy, other teams were working at similar installations, but the network needed at least 5 nodes active to create a stable defensive grid. So far, only 2 were online. The battle raged for hours. Human ships darted between the lumbering Kronek vessels like insects around giants. But insects could be swatted, and the Kronek had a lot of swatters. Hull breach on Deck 7. Came a damage report from one human cruiser, losing atmosphere. Engines offline, reported another ship. We're dead in space. Slowly, inevitably. The human fleet was being overwhelmed. Then something unexpected happened. New contacts on long-range sensors, announced a surprise communications officer. Multiple fleets approaching from different vectors. Kira's bioluminescence flared with hope. On her screen, she saw dozens of ships emerging from hyperspace. Not human ships. Alien vessels of every design imaginable. The Velthani had come. So had the Theron, the Melodic Consensus, and dozens of other species. Even races that had never met humans before had answered the call. This is Captain Velnasa of the Velthani Exploration Fleet, came a familiar voice. We received Kira's message. We're here to help. Kira's hearts nearly stopped. Velnasa was alive. Her old captain had survived the attack on the Silent Current and somehow made it home. Formation 779 joining the battle, announced the leader of the Theron fleet. For the dream of a peaceful galaxy. The tide of battle began to turn. The new arrivals weren't military vessels, but they were determined. Engineering ships used their cutting beams as weapons. Survey vessels turned their sensor arrays into jammers. Even passenger transports joined the fight, using their bulk to ram Kronek warships. Installation at 85% power, Wu Jin reported. Network connection establishing. Across the galaxy, the ancient grid was awakening. One by one, defensive installations came online. Energy fields began to form around star systems. Peaceful worlds that had lived in darkness for generations suddenly found themselves protected by barriers of pure force. But the Kronek weren't finished yet. Flagship approaching the installation, warned Eugene Park. High War Leader Thekron is making a direct attack run. The massive Kronek command ship was 3 times the size of any human vessel. Its weapons could crack planets. If it destroyed the installation before the network fully activated, everything would be lost. I'm going after it, declared Captain Hyunwoo. Sir, that's suicide, protested his bridge crew. Maybe, Hyunwoo admitted, but someone has to try. The determination broke formation and accelerated toward the Kronek flagship. Behind it came every human ship that could still fight. They formed a protective formation around their captain's vessel, knowing they were flying into certain death. Installation at 95%, Wu Jin announced. Just a few more minutes. The Kronek flagship opened fire. Massive energy beams reached out like the fingers of death. The first human escort ship vanished in a ball of fire. Then another, but they kept coming. For Earth, someone shouted over the communications channel. For the future, called another voice. For everyone who dreams of peace, added a third. The human ships crashed into the Kronek flagship like waves against a mountain. Their weapons barely scratched its armor, but they kept fighting. They had something the Kronek didn't understand. They weren't fighting for conquest or glory. They were fighting for an idea. The idea that the galaxy could be better than what it was. Network at 100%. Wu Jin's voice rang out across space.
Full activation achieved.
The ancient installation blazed with light. Energy cascaded across the galaxy, linking defensive nodes that had slept for millions of years. Around hundreds of star systems, protective barriers sprang into existence. And in space around the installation, something else happened. The Kronek flagship simply stopped. Its weapons powered down. Its engines went silent. What's happening? Demanded High War leader Thekron. The answer came from the installation itself. A voice spoke in every language of every species present. The voice of the ancients preserved in quantum memory for eons. The network of peace is now active, the voice announced. Any aggressive action against protected worlds will result in immediate system shutdown for the attacking vessel. Thekron snarled and ordered his weapons to fire. Nothing happened. The ancient technology had neutralized his ship's ability to harm others. Across the galaxy, the same thing was happening to Kronek fleets everywhere. Their ships still worked, but they could no longer attack peaceful worlds. The age of the predators was over. In the months that followed, Kira found herself serving as an ambassador between species. The galaxy was changing rapidly. Species that had hidden for generations were emerging into the light. Trade routes opened between worlds that had never spoken to each other. Children of a dozen races played together in space stations that had once been fortresses. She stood once again on the observation deck of Station Aurora, but now it looked different. Ships from across the galaxy docked there regularly. The corridors echoed with dozens of languages. The future was full of possibilities. Any regrets? Asked a familiar voice. Kira turned to see Captain Hyunwoo approaching. He walked with a slight limp now, a souvenir from the final battle, but his eyes still held that quiet determination she had come to admire. About what? She asked. About that day we found you. If we hadn't picked up your distress signal, you might have lived a quiet life on your home world. Kira's bioluminescence brightened with something that might have been laughter. Hyunwoo, she said, I was lost alone in space dying when your ship arrived. You didn't just save my life. You saved the idea that the galaxy could be something more than fear and hiding. She gestured at the bustling station around them. Look at this. Look at what we've built together. Children of every species learning from each other. Scientists sharing discoveries instead of hiding them. Traders crossing the galaxy without fear. She paused and looked directly at her human friend. You taught us something we had forgotten. That sometimes the right thing to do is also the hardest thing to do, and that when good people stand together, they can change the universe. Outside the observation window, a ship was departing for the far rim of the galaxy. It carried explorers from 6 different species, including both humans.